Time is of the essence. We must assist our allies.
Since every one of you are here, why don't we see what the chef is cooking? And let's just say South of Midnight is 100% cooked, or perhaps 200%, whichever numbers you want to give. So we're going to react to a video from Dr. Disaster, and we'll give our thoughts on what's happening afterwards.
Let's talk about South of Midnight and how it doesn't appear to be moving the needle in any meaningful way. The game does have a digital release which is being sold in some physical retail stores, but my contacts in the retail world tell me this shit isn't selling at all. For those who don't know, I have a few people who have access to the sales numbers for nearly 50 retail stores that keep in contact with me, and understandably, a good chunk of these stores either didn't order South of Midnight at all, or they only put in orders for a tiny amount. And the ones who did order it are getting nervous because nobody is ordering it. And that isn't hyperbole. It isn't just a figure of speech. Literally nobody is able to report that a single customer has come into these stores and ordered this game.
Okay, before that, why don't we check? Okay, where is it? Where's the pre-order numbers? We already checked it. I need to recheck this when I'm editing. We need to find this. This is standard. No, not this. How many pre-orders? Well, let's check something out. Let's check Monster Hunter Wilds. Where's the copy sold? Yeah, this is really in Spanish. Okay, I can't find anything. I couldn't find anything, folks. So let's continue forward.
This game on Steam, being in the top 500 bestsellers is an improvement on the likes of Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, another Sweet Baby Inc. game which was a Game Pass Day 1 title from last year, but that isn't saying much at all. Flintlock, as you can see here, failed to hit even 700 concurrent players on Steam, and according to VG Analytics, they haven't even sold 30,000 units on the platform yet. South of Midnight might end up with better numbers, but games like this simply aren't selling well any longer, and the Game Pass excuse is flimsy and really just doesn't work, because that's the first thing that defenders of these games try to run with. They want to hide behind Game Pass. When you bring up that Flintlock sold less than 30,000 copies on Steam, they say, so what? They were a Game Pass release.
Sorry I played that long, but Game Pass and PSN, all of them, the one thing they have in common is that they will hide their player count. And most importantly, these developers will not announce anything. They will say player engaged, Assassin's Creed Shadows. They say 3 million players, but what about sales? They mention any sales? If it's 3 million players, then why does Ubisoft is now going down? Is being bought by Tencent. Yes, Steam may be not, okay, SteamDB may not have been, accurate to most people, but at least you can get a clear picture what is successful.
Everything is fine. They did that shit with Avowed as well, as you may remember from several weeks ago. Game Pass is their shield, which doesn't work because games that have actual interest from gamers still end up selling well. If a gamer really likes a game, they buy it. Starfield sold millions of copies despite being a Day 1 Game Pass title. Stalker 2 sold over 1 million copies despite being a Day 1 Game Pass title. South of Midnight will get a whole lot of excuses thrown out for it though, but let me say this. If a game studio doesn't have to worry about their sales numbers because they're on Game Pass, if a studio has become so callous about actually selling their product that they don't even release a proper physical copy of their game, then what makes you think that what they're doing is actually worth playing in the first place? Game Pass is a guaranteed paycheck for studios like Compulsion. This makes them very much like most government employees who get paid regardless of whether or not they contribute anything. So, what incentive is there for them to give a shit about the quality of the product on the screen?
Yeah, these people don't give a crap. Also, a little side note, I'm not certain if Dr. Disaster knew this. The Last of Us Part 2 release, or PC release, is coming in about tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow by the time of this upload. And when you have two games, which, by the way, The Last of Us Part 2, we all know what happened. Gamers already know what the story is. The story has been spoiled. Who's going to buy it? It will not sell as well as The Last of Us Part 1, that's for sure. Again, The Last of Us Part 2, the story has been spoiled. Why bother?
You can see how this manifests itself with a studio like Obsidian on Avowed. That game, by all accounts, was about the most mid thing that you could possibly experience, but there was a time when Obsidian was revered for its prowess, so what the hell happened? And I'd like to offer Game Pass as a possible explanation for at least some of the mediocrity that they have fallen into. Once again, if a studio doesn't have to care about the numbers, then what does that tell you about the quality of games they have to sell you? If the first instinct of these studios and their defenders is to shrug their shoulders when someone criticizes their game and say, so what, when that game doesn't sell, then that doesn't exactly sound like someone who is grinding all day every day in order to make something unforgettable. No, that sounds like someone who has done the bare minimum. They want to collect a paycheck and go home. It also explains why these troglodytes keep injecting their weird activism into the games, because who cares about the consequences that this stuff has on sales when Microsoft is just going to write them paychecks regardless? This studio reportedly hired Sweet Baby Inc. to come in and consult on South of Midnight, but who cares about controversy like that with a guaranteed paycheck? And, for the record, this is the fundamental problem with socialism. If you get your allotment of food, regardless of how you perform at your assigned job, then why the hell would you even try? What is the incentive to innovate? There is none, and that explains an awful lot with these unappealing Game Pass titles that keep selling like shit but keep getting made.
If SteamDB's player count is any indicator, even though they say they'll have 1 million players on Game Pass or something, which that's what these people try to advocate or perhaps try to run damage control, and I'm certain by the time South of Midnight release, they're going to have articles after articles saying the same thing Assassin's Creed Shadow is. Return to form, a new game. But gamers aren't stupid. Vote with your wallet. I mean, what else is coming next? Oh yeah, Directive 8020. That thing is being consulted without making games. What, you think Directive 8020 isn't woke? Well, what about Outmaking Games? Those guys have consulted the game or the company Supermassive Games, and guess what happens? Outmaking Games was the one that censored GTA 5 Enhanced Edition. They removed the trans joke. So Directive 8020, and I know it's a bit early, which I'm going to be making it in another video, dead on arrival. I'm not taking it back. Outmaking Games is proof. Directive 8020 is cooked and dead on arrival.
So the enemy has proposed that you defect. In that case, perhaps we should use their desire to recruit you against them by planting you within their army. Gain their trust, and before long, we will give the signal for you to destroy their ranks and resolve from within.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want woke or anti-woke detected, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. Visit my second, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.